That's the town hall.
Uno di Castelforte.
Ok.
Of Castelforte.
Poi ci fermiamo per una fotografia qua.
And also this one has been rebuilt after the war.
Yes.
But it has been rebuilt as it was.
Parcheggiamo
Exactly
qua.
as it was in the past.
My grandmother was tiny. How the hell she bore 12, 13 children, I do not know.
Do you know exactly why they moved over?
Because probably they knew a war was coming. And I forget the history exactly. But Germany wasn't at the time very friendly with Italy. And he wanted to better himself, and he thought he had a better chance here, as many as the poor migrants and refugees do now. So strictly speaking, if he hadn't been allowed into the country, I wouldn't be here. Or my 5 brothers.
Or any of us.
Any of us?
Sorry?
Or any of us.
Or any of you? Oh, that's true. Now I gather that when they came over to England, it was much against my grandmother's parents' wishes. They didn't want him to marry Salvatore, her husband, because he wasn't quite up to their standard. He was a working man. And I only found out fairly recently from my cousin Dorothy that in Italy, Castelforte, he was a rope maker.
So you say that your great grandfather, yeah, he was a rope maker, because all a lot of members of the family were rope makers here, and for example, her father Maria Volpe, and another people of this area.
Faceva vedere che era appassionato di sport, di box. Gli piaceva la box, faceva vedere I pugni così come tirava.
I used to like to play around with the kids, boxing and things like that. Uno come si dice qua Bonaccioni. He was amusing to be with because he was a nice character, full of fun.
And every time we went into Nana and Nana's house, all you could smell was bolognese, spaghetti.
My grandmother was Volpe too, probably the same family. We don't know exactly, because I made some research, but I found my grandparents, of course, not the others. But probably they were cousins or something like that.
And my grandfather, for a living, made ice cream. And I was one of the very first ice cream vendors in England, I presume, let alone in London. He made lovely ice cream. And I remember going when I was a little girl to London with my father, and my father took me to his ice cream stall. And grandfather didn't speak much English, or if he did, he was nervous of using it, but he smiled a lot.
The lady that is coming now is the one who lives in the house.
È questa? È questa? Eccola qua, eccola qua.
Her mother was Salvatore's niece.
Sì, però digli che te la faccia degli volpe.
Ce
l'ha te, la faccia degli volpe. E se li faccio vedere. Sì, sì.
No, ma anche lei.
No, lei
sì.
No, lascia perdere, anche
Bruna.
lei.
È bruna, no?
Perché avevi una faccia di Filippo, te quando aveva 14 anni?
Era nero così.
Era nero così.
Sì, Filippo era così.
They say that she too, she has something of the Volpe family. Yes. The color of the cheeks.
Bruder.
And he just was musical. Didn't read any music, but he taught him, was self-taught on a banjo, ukulele, then guitar, and he played beautifully.
raccontava tante belle cose.
All the youngsters, when he used to go around talking, all the youngsters wanted to hear what he got to say because he found it very interesting to talk about England, because in those days it was like America, a long way away.
My father started an orchestra of his own in Cheltenham and became the musical director at Cheltenham Town Hall.
When did they ask him to change his name? Because he's known as...
It was later on. It was very, very dicey because the Italians weren't very friendly with the English at that time, and the war was simmering for ages before it actually broke out. And they said, oh, with a name like that, you'll not get anywhere. So he was sitting on a bus one day on the top deck, and as he was going along his journey, he saw Peter's the baker's. He thought, oh, Peter. And then further on he saw Fielding the butcher's. So he put the two together, Peter Fielding. Now, they were given a name, and the rest came from family. Salvatore was my grandfather. Alfredo was an uncle, my father's youngest brother. And Pasquale was Auntie Esther's husband. So he came into it. Now Pietro, I don't know where the Pietro came from, unless it was because he was known as Peter Field. Pietro Armando, I don't know where the Armando came from. Luigi was after Uncle Luigi, Uncle Reggie. Salvatore after his father. And Michael is Miguel Lorenzo Salvatore. And Lorenzo was my father's eldest brother, Uncle Nobby, the shoe repairer.
Aspetta che ci do.
Novembre.
Io non so chi altro prende il caffè.
91.
Gianni sta qui, non lo so chi altro lo prende.
In inglese, 91.
Salvatore.
91. 91.
Chi sei?
Wow. And you're...
Gloria, because when I was born, my father had said, Gloria in excelsis, a little girl for Kath being my mother. And of course she'd been wanting a little girl for a long time. So Gloria stuck. Maria was my grandmother's name, and the third name was meant to be on my birth certificate Italianicized or Italianized into Adana, after my mother's sister who died at the age of 24. She was Edna. And Catalina after my mother who was Kathleen.
Un bacio a tutti. Ciao Ghira.
She was a dancer. And she was very beautiful. And he fell for her. And they got together. And my grandmother was not pleased, not having met her, because she had a lady called Babette mapped out for my father. Anyway, my father was determined. And he took my mother home to meet his parents. And my grandmother came out of the front door as they approached up the road. When she saw my mother, she said, oh, you for my son, you for my son. So that was parental acceptance and approval.
Allora bisogna andare sui registri parrocchiali, però i registri parrocchiali alcuni
No, muoiamo all'asso, non faceva tempo. perché ce l'abbiamo pure pigliato prima. Ciao Dio Mira, ciao.